Omniscient and almighty, starting with the elderly wolf uncle. Chapter 54. Chapter 57. Two supermen fight each other. Chen Tian and Clark clashed. Under the moonlight like water, the night breeze blows through the rustling of rolled leaves. Jerome lifted her feet off the ground, her fierce eyes protruding, and she endured the feeling of breathing, struggling to break free from the hands around her neck. Unfortunately, no matter how he struggled and exerted his strength, it was to no avail. Chen Tian completely ignored his electric power, and the hand pinching his neck was like an extremely strong iron tong, unshaken. Chen, you. Clark's heart shook when he saw that Chen Tian could actually easily take the attack of a supernatural person covered in electricity. He was a little surprised. Could it be that Chen was also a special existence, but he had just taken a step? Opposite side. Jerome suddenly noticed that the yellow-skinned boy on the opposite side looked at him, as if he was looking at a dead person, and his eyes were full of killing intent. Suddenly, his body froze, like an ice cellar, and he instantly felt the great horror between life and death, and swallowed himself. At the same time, Jerome felt the 5 fingers pinched around his neck, slowly restraining him and immediately giving up the struggle, using all his strength to beg for mercy. No. Click. How can I think I just had time to export a word? Chen Tian's hands suddenly tightened, and directly crushed Jerome's neck, even the tracheal belt and cervical vertebrae. The latter's body that was lifted in Chen Tian's hands suddenly softened, and his limbs hung down like noodles. It's like losing its life. Chen, what are you doing? Clark was stunned when he saw that Chen Tian actually started killing people directly, and did not hesitate to act resolutely. In a trance, the beautiful face that took a day to form, giving people warmth and understanding, with a smile, gradually blurred. It's not that he hasn't seen the murderer. But Clark never imagined that one day, among his friends, there would be such a person. Bang! Next second, Jerome's body was thrown to the ground. Clark was pulled back to reality by the muffled sound of its landing. He looked for prestige. I saw Jerome's bloodied, lifeless face, and the expression of incomparable horror before death, and his eyes were wide and full of horror. As for the neck, it has been twisted out of shape. Clark looked at the corpse on the ground where jello 07 meters began to cool rapidly, and his expression suddenly darkened. Why are you doing this? He turned his head and asked Chen Tian in a cold voice. He obviously still has a chance to save. Chen Tian was not the slightest surprise at Clark's words. After all, except for the great evil ones, most of the great superpowers of the universe would not kill people easily. He looked back at the latter, his eyes calm and calm. He just wanted to kill me, and I can only kill him. Quote. Moreover, when a fox enters the chicken cage, then killing the fox is the best option. After all, it came to speculate this time, and then it will definitely be next time, because that is the nature of foxes. Clark was slightly stunned when he heard this. He wanted to refute, but felt that what Chen Tian said was very reasonable, and he didn't know what to say for a while. He clenched his fists and immediately realized another problem. Chen Tian had also shown extraordinary strength. Other words, he also has superpowers, just like Jerome and himself. Thoughts fall. Clark just wanted to open his mouth to question Chen Tian's ability. Why did he hide it from himself before? Then, Clark, which one are you? Across the forest from him, there were shouts. It's Lana's. She couldn't find Chen Tian and Clark for a long time, and she was more and more worried in her heart, so she found this place all the way. It's not over yet. Clark heard the sound and looked at Chen Tian, and the words that came to his mouth were taken back. And he didn't want Lana to see Jerome's body, so he didn't say more, just hurried towards Lana's location with a hazy look in his eyes. The other side. The expression on Chen Tian's face never fluctuated in the slightest. Clark's reaction was also all within his control. Thinking about it, Chen Tian glanced at Jerome's body on the ground. The reason why he chose to kill Jerome was to stir up Clark's emotions. It looks like it's working. Chen Tian smiled gently, looked at Clark's obviously excited back, and raised his steps to keep up. Now that he has obtained multiple abilities of Dachau, he will soon get all of them. So at this moment, there was a bold idea in Chen Tian's mind. If I want to replicate all of his abilities as soon as possible, instead of waiting for him to trigger the event immediately, I should talk to Clark directly. The efficiency of acquiring abilities in this way will be much higher. As he walked, he thought, with the ability I have now, I can fully support me to do this. Between thoughts, Clark in front had already entered Lana's field of vision. Hey, Clark, how did you get so far? As soon as Lana saw Clark, she immediately stood on tiptoe and waved excitedly, and then trotted towards the latter. I just thought the party was a little stuffy, so I came out and walked around. Clark looked at the girl who was worried about herself, her heart warmed, and she tried to calm her tone. It's okay, it's okay. Lana had been in a state of tension and worry before, but now that she finally saw Clark, she was happy and didn't pay too much attention. I just felt that the whole person suddenly relaxed. What's wrong? Clark asked knowingly. When Lana heard this, she remembered the desperate experience at the previous party, and her body couldn't help shaking. At the party, something happened. You just go over and take a look. Quote. After a pause, she then asked, by the way, what about Chen? I followed him out, and in a blink of an eye he was gone. Quote. When Clark heard the question behind him, his face sank for a moment, and he didn't want to say more. I'm here, and I came looking for Clark just now. At this time, Chen Tian followed with a smile. It's okay. Lana smiled even more. Clark's expression, on the other hand, became more solemn and his words became even less. Subsequently, the three returned to the restaurant where the party was taking place. At this time, the entire building, including the restaurant, was still silent in the dark, according to the staff in charge of repairing the circuit system. It seems that because of the strong current, the circuits of the entire building have burned out, and if you want to power it on again, you have to reinstall all the circuits. The students at the previous party had already walked out of the restaurant, and the scene was chaotic in front of the building. It seems that many people are still immersed in the previous fear. Cries and screams came and went. There are also several people who have suffered electric shocks and are seriously injured, still lying on the ground and fainting. As for the restaurant where the party was held, it had been sealed, but looking through the doorway, he could still see the broken door and the scorched black floor. And Clark looked at the messy scene, his face gloomy. What was supposed to be a pleasant party has now turned into a fast tragedy. Do you still think that person is innocent now? Seeing this, Chen Tian walked to his side and asked calmly. Clark fell into deep thought when he heard this. Although Jerome was a victim before, this is not an excuse for him to hurt innocent people. The ambulance, which was called by the emergency number, also arrived at the scene. Clark looked at the person carried away by the ambulance, did not know how to answer Chen Tian's question, and fell silent. In the end, the party can only end in tragedy. First chapter, previous chapter 54, 186, next chapter, epilogue, table of contents.